You should think of the Google Play Store less like a marketplace and more like its own digital nation, a nation with its own laws. So today, we're going to decode that unofficial rulebook, the one every developer really needs to know to not just get an app listed, but to actually succeed.
So, what does it really take to make it in this massive ecosystem? I mean, you could have the most brilliant, absolutely bug-free code in the world, but launching on Google Play, that's a whole other ballgame. The reality is, your success hinges on understanding and sticking to a really deep and, frankly, constantly evolving set of policies. These rules are all about creating a safe and trustworthy place for millions of users. And if you don't play by them, well, your app just isn't going to last very long.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down 5 absolutely critical areas. We'll start with a new digital economy, then move to handling real-world money, protecting vulnerable users, policing harmful content, and we'll finish up with the creator's playbook for UGC and AI.
Okay, let's dive right in. First up, the new digital economy. This is where the cutting edge of tech meets some very, very specific regulations on things like crypto, blockchains, and of course, NFTs. So, before we go any further, let's make sure we're all speaking the same language. When Google talks about this stuff, they use the term tokenized digital assets. Just think of these as unique digital items, like an NFT, whose ownership is logged on a secure public ledger. That's the blockchain. This concept right here is the foundation for all the rules that come next.
Now, when it comes to crypto mining, Google draws a really hard line in the sand. You can have an app that acts like a remote control for mining that's happening somewhere else. That's fine. But what you absolutely cannot do is have an app that mines crypto right there on the device itself. That's a huge no-no, mostly because it just torches the phone's battery and wears out the hardware.
And for NFTs in games, this is all about Google trying to keep games, well, games. NFTs have to have a real in-game purpose that makes the experience better. They can't just be a lottery ticket. That means no wagering or staking them for real money. You have to be totally transparent about what's in any NFT bundle you sell, and you absolutely cannot market your game as some kind of get-rich-quick scheme.
All right, moving on from digital assets to actual real-world money. This is an area where, as you can probably guess, Google is extremely strict. All these policies are designed to protect users from sketchy or harmful financial practices.
So if you're building an app that offers personal loans, transparency is the name of the game. You have to clearly state the repayment window, the maximum annual percentage rate, and that includes all the interest and fees, and you have to give a clear, real-world example of what a loan will actually cost someone. No hidden fees, no fine print surprises. But the rules go way beyond just financial transparency, and this is a really crucial point. It's about personal privacy. Google completely forbids these loan apps from getting into the most sensitive parts of a user's phone. I mean, just look at this list. Loan apps are flat out banned from asking for permission to access your photos, your contacts, your storage, your precise location, or your phone numbers. This is a hard and fast rule, and it's all about stopping predatory behavior and data exploitation. Okay, the line on gambling is razor thin. On one side, you have properly licensed, government-approved gambling apps. They're allowed in some countries, but they have to go through a super rigorous approval process. But on the other side, any game that asks you to pay real money for just a chance to win a real-world prize, that's considered unregulated gambling, and it is completely banned. This next section is so important. We're talking about Google's intense focus on safety for its most vulnerable users. The policies around children and health are, as you'd expect, some of the most stringent on the entire platform, and for a very good reason. This quote from the policy itself really says everything you need to know. The stance here is absolute zero tolerance. Any app that endangers a child, promotes predatory behavior, or is used for grooming, it's not just getting removed, it's getting reported to law enforcement. There is no gray area here whatsoever. And for any app out there that has social or dating features, Google mandates these 4 safety standards. They are not suggestions. You must have public rules against child exploitation. You need an in-app way for users to report problems. You need a process to actually deal with that material. And of course, you have to follow all the relevant laws. That's the bare minimum to even get in the door. When it comes to health apps, the guiding principle is basically do no harm. You have to be super transparent, fill out the Health Apps Declaration, have a clear privacy policy, and always, always remind users that your app is not a substitute for seeing a doctor. And on the don't side of things, never make misleading claims, and don't ask for health data that isn't absolutely critical for your app to work.
And trust me, Google is cracking down hard on health misinformation. This means no bogus claims about vaccines altering DNA, no pushing harmful, unproven cures, and absolutely no advocating for awful practices like conversion therapy. If your app promotes content that goes against established medical science and could hurt people, it will get taken down. Okay, moving on, let's zoom out a bit and look at the broader rules that govern content and behavior across the entire Play Store. This is really about maintaining a baseline of decency and respect for everyone. Let's be crystal clear. Hate speech is not tolerated. You cannot have content that promotes violence or incites hatred against anyone based on their race, religion, sexual orientation, or any of these other protected characteristics you see here. The goal is to stop the platform from being used as a weapon to marginalize or attack any community. And it doesn't just stop at hate speech. This table gives you a quick rundown of other major restrictions. No realistic, gratuitous violence. No content that promotes terrorism. No apps that help people sell firearms. And no apps that are designed to help sell marijuana or tobacco. These are just hard lines drawn in the sand to keep users safe.
Finally, let's talk about what I'm calling the creator's playbook. If your app lets users create and share their own content, what we call UGC, or if you're using generative AI, then you've got a whole special set of responsibilities.
So first off, what is UGC? It's basically any content, text, images, video, you name it, that your users contribute and that other users can see. If your app does this, you are effectively running a platform, and that means you are responsible for moderating what happens on it.
And these 4 tools are completely non-negotiable. Your app must have clear terms of use, a way for users to report bad content and bad actors, a function to let users block each other, and safeguards to make sure your payment model doesn't accidentally reward toxic behavior. This is just the foundation of being a responsible platform owner.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most crucial question. The policies we've just covered are for the internet of today, but as generative AI gets woven into more and more apps, creating content on the fly, how are these rules going to adapt? How do you govern not just human creativity, but machine creativity as well? That right there is the next big chapter for the Google Play rulebook.